Welcome back, everyone, to the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Here with my good friends Idris and Brett. How we doing, fellas?
What's up?
Doing great, bro.
What's going on?
Doing great, man. Happy to be back.
Good, man. Good to have you back. You guys got some business to square up and start bench cut. It's been a topic that we've been speaking on about three legendary NBA dynasties. We're going to hit on that towards the end of the show. Yankees dealing with a lot of adversity. Going to talk about that. Potential CK7 comeback in the air in Vegas, possible. The Golden State Warriors are in the NBA Finals. And Hollywood lost a great one today. Going to get started with that. Ray Liotta passing away at the age of 67 earlier today in the Dominican Republic. Huge impact in Hollywood, and sometimes I feel that he kind of got pigeonholed into being categorized that he was only good in gangster flicks, and I honestly feel that couldn't be further from the truth. Dude had a lot of range, but having said that, my favorite movie of his is without a doubt Goodfellas, and coming in at a close second, probably Field of Dreams.
I got Blow on my list with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, he played Boston George's father in that.
Yep.
Solid role. With Goodfellas, it was interesting because Pesci won a solo award on that. Best Picture of the Year, 1990. But Ray Liotta was the front man, and I really think that movie blew up his career. I mean, he was next to some serious legends. You know, you're talking about Bobby D, Joe Pesci, Lorraine Bracco. Yeah, bro, just phenomenal cast, man. And
Kevin Costner sent out a tribute. Field of Dreams tribute to him. I don't know if you guys saw that yet or not, but he threw it out there.
No, I didn't have a chance to.
2, maybe 3 hours ago. Yeah, it's nice, dude. It's heartfelt.
He played in a movie. I don't know if you know that. Bill Duke is my uncle. You know who
Get
Bill
the
Duke
fuck
is, right?
out of here! No, he's not.
I swear, Bill Duke is my uncle.
Like Predator.
Yes, I be shouting him out on my Facebook wall. I shout him out on my Facebook wall.
He does. Yeah. He does.
I shout him out. That's my uncle.
I gotta meet this guy.
They played in a movie called Payback by Mel Gibson. If you haven't you gotta watch it. Yeah, that was my second. Of course, Goodfellas was number one, but Payback was my second one. Blow would be next for me.
Dude, I'm mind blown.
Yeah, we look alike, dude.
You're related to Bill.
We look alike.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to sound like that guy.
No, that's my uncle, man. Yeah, that's my uncle, man. I got a lot of celebrity relatives, man.
I'm gonna have you some fun. I'm gonna have you some fun. I'm gonna have you some fun. He does that in Predator, bro.
Hit him up and tell him I told you. He'll hit you back. It's
fucking awesome.
He'll tell you. He'll tell you. I always say, "Let me play you in the movie." I always say that when you do a biography, let me play you in the movie.
Hell yeah, dude, you can be a stunt double.
Yeah, that's my man.
Look at your screens, gentlemen.
You could have been killed by Predator.
We could do a start bench cut on Idris's famous family members.
Oh my God!
I mean, you also got a Super Bowl winning tight end in there. You know,
son,
pretty impressive. Yeah, son's coaching out with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, Brad Daugherty, John Avery, Emery Moorhead, and Aaron Moorhead. Those are all my family.
Damn, bro. I'm mind blown.
Yeah, I got a lot of famous family, man. It's crazy.
I had no idea. No idea, man. That's awesome.
That's my uncle.
You know, he played him in.
I might as well.
He was in Commando too. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
This Green Beret is going to kick your big ass.
Kick you. Yeah. Got his ass whipped though. He got his ass whipped though.
Yeah, he did.
He got his ass whipped though.
Now, I might as well ask because at this point, nothing surprises me. You're not related to any Yankees, are you?
Nah, I wish.
I have a cousin through marriage who did have a cup of coffee with the Yankees later in his career, but predominantly made his fame with the hated Astros. They weren't hated back then because they were an NL team. Jose Cruz Jr. and Jose Cruz, the father. The father played with Houston, and he also went by Cheo Cruz. And the kid actually played with A-Rod and Griffey for a little bit in Seattle. Later with the Toronto Blue Jays, but he didn't have the kind of career his dad had. His dad was a really good.
His dad was good.
Honestly, I would say that if his dad played a couple more years, I think he might have been able to scrape into the Hall of Fame. He would. Some of his numbers are on point, but making the Hall of Fame is not only tough; it's also tricky. And since we're on the subject of the New York, I'm sorry, Idris, you go ahead.
Oh, and I was saying he played on a lot of bad Houston teams, man.
I mean, they would.
They were alright, but they wouldn't. Yeah, they had one. Yeah. But
the best team they had was in Once Upon a Time in Queens when they got beat by the Mets, Dorney's boys.
Beat by the Mets. Oh man, that was
and to my recollection, I believe my cousin made the last out in that game against Jesse Orosco. But you know what? Fuck the Mets. Somebody's here.
All day.
Ooh, how you doing, Mama? My mother's over here chiming in.
Oh, Unit.
All right. Hello, Mama.
Hi, Mama.
Mom's actually going to be attending the New York Yankees trip, Tampa Bay Rays game coming up on the 29th.
Okay.
Going to get back in here, but speaking on the Yankees, they've been dealing with a lot of adversity. It's affected both our fantasy teams. Brett's in my league. He's missing Chapman. I'm missing Giancarlo Stanton. Bullpen injuries. A lot of bullpen injuries. Chad Green shut down for the year. He's going to be getting Tommy John surgery.
Did you see they signed Matt Carpenter?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he played tonight. Yankees won tonight, 7-2 in Tampa, game one of a 4-game set.
Yeah.
A lot of injuries, man. Zach Britton's still on the mend from his Tommy John surgery. DJ LeMahieu, I believe, LeMahieu did play today, but he's a little dinged up. He played through it. And the catcher we acquired in the Josh Donaldson deal, Ben Rortvedt, he's still on the mend. He hasn't played this year yet. I think when he comes back, he probably replaces Higgy. Yankees, I imagine, would want to have, if they're going to carry 2 catchers, they want a lefty. But
you can always bring back Savelli.
Nah, fuck Savelli. Honestly, I think what's impressive with what the Yankees have been doing is that they're just kind of rolling with every punch they're given. Because this was not a good week for them. I mean, they managed to scrape out the Baltimore series. Winning tonight, all banged up, is a huge morale boost against a team that's chasing them. Because if the Yankees could, if the Yankees could win 3 out of 4 or even take out the big broom in Tampa, they're going to distance themselves in a big, big way.
Yeah, well, that's why this weekend. That's why this weekend is going to be such a big test for them. You know, I mean, you just said it. You know, they're all banged up. I mean, they're playing at the Trop, where Yankee fans are. There's more Yankee fans than there are Rays fans. Like we've been to a few of those games, so it's going to be interesting. I think it'll say a lot about the team after this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Most definitely. Nestor Cortez, another quality start, man. Definitely positioning himself in the conversation for the All-Star Game starter. That ERA going into today was 1.8, second in the AL to only Justin Verlander. And
yeah,
Nestor's having a Cinderella type season, man. He's pitching well. And even yesterday, Sears coming in. They actually demoted him after he won a game. Spot starter, called him up from Scranton, did his job. But I did want to speak on this, Idris, with you because I didn't have an opportunity last week. Something that I think is worth getting your opinion on. What's your take on all of this with Josh Donaldson and Tim Anderson? For those of the viewing audience who don't know, Tim Anderson did an interview back in 19, essentially saying and claiming that he was this generation's Jackie Robinson. Major League Baseball honors Jackie Robinson every year in the beginning of the year on April 15th, which is already passed. But Donaldson called him Jackie. That led to a lot of controversy. 1-game suspension for Donaldson, who's currently on the COVID IL, and he's appealing that. But Anderson talked to New York reporters and was very adamant that he felt it had racial undertones. I have mixed feelings on it that I want to share, but I want to hear what you think, Idris. Brett and I kind of spoke on this on our last episode.
To be honest, I didn't see anything wrong with what Donaldson said. I'm going to tell you why, because, Anderson made the comment that he's this generation Jackie Robinson. And I feel Donaldson was probably taking a dig at him. Like,
oh, no question.
Just joking. Yeah, but I don't see anything racist about it. I just don't. And I think with them, the way they handled it with him, Major League Baseball, they basically labeled him a racist. And I didn't see anything. That's a dangerous thing. It is, because I didn't see anything. When I heard it, I mean, like if someone, like suppose you say you're the next
John Rocker.
No, I'm not going to go there.
No, Kenny Powers was the next John Rocker. We already went there.
Yeah. Let's just say, just say whoever, anyone. And, I see you and I'm going to take it there. Yeah, what's up, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying it to you just to, I'm clowning you. I'm not, because this is who you said you were. So I'm throwing it, I'm joking with you like, hey. And when Anderson said, no, there's no inside joke, I mean, I think Donaldson he got railroaded. My opinion.
What I don't like about the situation, first and foremost, I have mixed feelings. I don't think it was racial undertones on it. But having said that, if that's not your boy, if that's not your dude, I still say in the year 2022, you got to be a little smarter about how you communicate and how you put that energy out. I mean, having said that, and I said this on the last show, if Jack Parkman was a baseball player in real life, I think that personality-wise, he has a lot of Josh Donaldson. Let's get that out of the way. Tim Anderson, great ball player, but I do think he's a little sensitive. I do think that but at the same time, it put the Yankees in a legit funk because I do believe that after the Yankees mashed that team in Chicago, I think that between that, Anderson kind of used it as fuel for a rally cry. Aaron Boone couldn't have handled this any better. A lot of people aren't aware, but Aaron Boone actually has 2 adopted sons from Haiti. So I know that Aaron Boone is obviously going to be aggressively defensive when it comes to, or aggressively aware, I should say, when it comes to making sure that there aren't racial undertones and that that's not something that's going to be associated with any of his teams. I personally think he gave Donaldson his 2 cents in the sense of there's got to be better shit to talk about. We're on a roll. We don't need this damn distraction. But I do believe that the Yankees now have found themselves a legitimate rival with Tim Anderson. Not quite to the level of a Big Papi or a Ken Griffey Jr. quite yet, but to be honest with you, I think it's good for the game in the sense that Anderson, the one thing I do agree with that statement, African-American ball players in terms of playing at the high level for the big teams is at a huge low compared to where it was at in the 80s and the 90s. And Tim Anderson is one of the faces who is an excellent baseball player. I mean, the man has a chance to win the batting title. White Sox are starting to wake up. I do believe when it's all said and done, they will win that division. Likely we'll see the Yankees at some point in a series that really matters. But it sets a tone for a lot of intensity and a lot of extra storylines because, you know, he's already stuck into the Yankees a few times, even with that Field of Dreams walk-off.
Well, you know, there's now for sure, especially after all this bullcrap that's happened this week, Donaldson appealed it. It's only a 1-game suspension. Doesn't mean shit. That's why that's why he's upset because he only got a 1-game suspension.
It's about the principle. You know, nobody wants to be labeled racist, but I'm not Team Donaldson either. Like I said,
I know,
you gotta be smart.
I know, but here's the thing with that. Now that all these, bullets have been fired back and forth, these guys play each other again.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of headhunting going on.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. And it's going to be back and forth. Like I mean, we watched baseball long enough. You know, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, but take into consideration when they do play again, if they do play again, it will be in the playoffs. They are done playing each other this particular season.
Oh, that just makes it worse. That just makes it worse. Don't get me wrong. It's great for TV. It's great for entertainment. But you know what I mean? Like, what does that say? You know what I mean?
Playoff baseball is a different animal, though. You know.
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays out. But no, I'm pleased with what the Yankees are overcoming right now. I mean, they have a shit ton of injuries that all came, and what could have turned into a really ugly losing streak was short-lived. And since winning that, you know, they're on a 3-game winning streak again.
Winning streak, right?
In Tampa. Vulnerable as all hell. You got Montgomery, Cole, and the game I'm going to be going to with Elliott, Jordan, and my mother. You got Severino. Yankees have a legit shot to really handle their business over the Memorial Day weekend.
I do.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
We're going to turn the channel now. Got to get up on this quickly. Well, not even quickly. Take our time on it, really. Because we might not talk about him again, but somehow I think we will.
I'm okay with that.
Colin Kaepernick possibly coming back to a football team near you. A team that Brett's kind of fond of in terms of some of the moves they made. Brett has a lot of confidence. Kim Murphy, how you doing, dear? Brett, I'm going to need to buy you a lamp.
Whatever. There's nothing wrong with a garage light.
She made mention to me in confidence, and that confidence is about to get busted now, that she wasn't quite sure what was happening with that light situation out there because she said that you kind of looked like you had a bit of a porn stash. But we're going to get back to Colin Kaepernick. Kim, thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us here. Kim's a great girl, but unfortunately she's a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. True. But, you know, you have a family member that works for that organization. So let's get recentered here. Colin Kaepernick, Idris, Brett, have at it, man. And then I'm going to chime in myself. What are your thoughts on this, man? You think this is another sham? You think this is real? I mean, do you think he really wants to play?
He's just working out with him, right?
No, dude, this is a tryout. You got tryout.
Oh, this is a tryout. Okay. Yes. And well, I mean, if he does get it, yeah, he'll be a good backup. Is it something that Josh McDaniels is going to have to adjust to? And, you know, why are you bringing this guy back? Is there a reason you're bringing him back? You know, he's already got to have a game plan for what kind of questions the media is going to ask him if Kaepernick is brought onto the Raiders organization. And he's a smart guy. I know he'll figure it out, but he's got to be prepared for these questions that he's going to have coming his way. I don't have any problem with it. The guy's trying out. He's trying to get back in the NFL. All the power to him. All the power to him. I don't have any problem with it.
I don't have a problem with him getting employment in the NFL because I do believe that he is better than some of the guys that are in the league. Yeah. I'm not even going there with the political stuff because it's not necessary. This is about football. But I will say this.
I mean, he hasn't played in a couple of years, man. So, I mean, he's going to be rusty regardless.
But do you smell it? But do you smell it? You smell that? It smells like public relations. The Vegas Raiders, what happened last year? They had quite the scandal with Mr. Gruden, followed by Henry Ruggs taking a life of a young lady and essentially ending his own vehicular homicide. That still has to be handled in court, but it don't end well for Mr. Ruggs. Not saying that the Raiders are doing this solely. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. Kim loves the show. Do you think Kaepernick's been out of football too long? Still be good? Actually, Kimmy, no. I think Kaepernick still has something to offer. I think he played well in his final season. I just think a lot of people got wrapped up in being offended. And something that gets lost is that Kaepernick did meet with a leader of the military to talk to him about what was deemed respectful and disrespectful. I'm not always the biggest fan of the way that Kaepernick went about doing some of these things, but it's not about what I think. You know, at the end of the day, this is a person that wants to make change. And when we see what happened in Buffalo just about a week and a half ago, it is painfully obvious that, you know, the cause is still necessary and the fight is still strong.
100%.
You know, I'm not going to be comfortable putting him in the same category as a Malcolm X or a Maya Angelou. Those are generational heroes. You know, that's a little different. But nobody said he had to be that either. And sometimes I think that people get a little sucked in too much into thinking that everything is not what it looks like. I do think personally that he cares.
I think he just wants to get back in the game. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. I don't think it's anything political. You know, like he's already made his money as a spokesperson and you know, the Nike commercial. You know what I mean?
That was one of the turnoffs.
He's already made that money. He's already made that turnoffs.
That was one of the turnoffs.
I follow him on Instagram. No, you good. I follow him on Instagram, and the thing about it is, he's done a lot that no one knows about. Like he has a thing going on right now where he pays for the autopsy of people who were killed by police to prove if the person, you know, he pays for that. He's also writing kids books. He got a bestseller kids coloring book out right now. It's a lot of stuff he's doing that a lot of people don't know. I think he made some missteps. Like I say, there's a lot of things he's doing that no one knows about. As for getting back into the game, he's another guy I got lucky and spoke to through Messenger. And he wants to get back into the game. He's been working out ever since he left. He's been going hard the last 6 years. As for him with the Raiders, Mark Davis said that he gave everyone who coached whatever managed the okay if they wanted Kaepernick with them, with the Raiders. He said, I gave them my blessing. They never signed him. I knew why Gruden did. Gruden made it clear how he felt anyway. But I kind of think it's public relations, Raider wise, because of the stuff that went on with Gruden and Ruggs. And I also think with him getting a tryout, other NFL teams will see what he has. It's been a while since he played, but what was the guy that came back? Yeah, what was the guy that came back for Dallas last year? Defensive end. He hadn't played in 5 years.
Alden Smith. Alden Smith.
He showed out. He came
and
out.
There's a connection with him and Kaepernick, not the most positive one.
But he came back and he made an impact, but he got in trouble. But
yes.
Yeah, but he came back and made an impact. Like he was out of the game 5 years.
5 years is a long time in football, dude. The only guy I've ever seen able to do that and still be a functional player and a quality player is probably Deion Sanders. I think that's the only dude I've seen sit out that long and come back.
And he
was in the booth for like 2-3 years and then went back to the Baltimore Ravens.
I think but
he has a chance. But he played baseball in between, didn't he? He played with the Yankees.
No.
What's about the beginning of his career?
Oh, the beginning. Okay.
In the beginning of his career, he was a Yankee, but I'm talking Deion was retired.
He was retired. He was in the booth.
This is after the Dallas and the 49er days. He came back with the Ravens.
He came back with the Ravens, yeah.
You remember the 2K5 ESPN game that Madden crushed because Madden got the rights?
Right.
With Madden's mask.
Yeah.
Deion was in that game, but he couldn't wear 21. He wore 37. It was weird to see him in a different number. Yeah.
I think with the league has a lot of poor backups. We had one last year with the Giants.
We had two last year.
We had two of them.
Yeah.
And no one could tell me he couldn't have done better than those two guys, and Glennon and Fromm. No one can tell me he couldn't have done better than them. They were pitiful.
The shit I took this morning could have done better than fucking Mike Glennon. Guy's a bum.
Well,
they were
pitiful. Back to Colin. Back to Colin. Listen, I agree with you. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he's coming back as a publicity stunt. I think he does miss the game and he wants to play. So it just so happened to be the Raiders that had racial controversy last year. You know what I mean? So it's I can see, you know what I mean, where shit gets crazy like that. But I honestly think he just wants to play.
I want to say one last thing on Colin Kaepernick. The reason above all else why I believe he deserves an opportunity is because he played the quarterback position at a higher level than Tim Tebow ever did. But Tim Tebow actually was a Jacksonville Jaguar last training camp. He ultimately got cut. So yes, this man played in a Super Bowl. Not shitting on Tebow. I like Tebow as a person. I got nothing against the dude. But if he was able to get a shot being that far removed and already being proven that he wasn't meant to be a quarterback, then yes, Colin Kaepernick can still help a football team. And I think ultimately that's what it is. Quentin made a post that was interesting. I guess I got to say it here. Because he essentially, Quentin was paraphrasing what Kaepernick had said some time back, viewing the NFL in certain regards as a slave ownership. When you look at the ownership up, predominantly white males, down to the players, predominantly African-American players. But Q made a point of like, why do you want to come back to the institution? I don't necessarily think that I got to question his motives yet, because I think the best way to find out what people are about is to let it play out. But it would be interesting to see him get the opportunity. And, if Derek Carr gets racked, Kaepernick has quite a few toys to play with over there.
Yeah, dude, it's football, man. Anything can happen. Anything.
I'm going to hit on this quickly. I thought there would be more to say, but because it's my team, there ain't going to be much to say. The New York Rangers are on the brink of elimination.
Again.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Again.
They are so good when their backs are against the wall. But I must say this: I watched game 1, game 2, and I haven't been able to, other than check my phone because of my work schedule. But I will say this:
3 and 4.
They are a different team at the Garden. Carolina is a different team at home as well, because in the Boston series, Carolina won all the home games and Boston won all the home games. I got a hunch, though. Rangers going to break the cycle in Game 7 and finally win a road game. They should have won Game 1. Outplayed them. That was a stinker. A loss that I feel that, maybe they can't come back from. But they did come back from 3-1 against Pittsburgh after a Game 1 triple overtime. The Tampa Bay Lightning are waiting patiently, licking their chops, because this is a grueling series. And Tampa Bay is so fucking good. I'll be honest, even if the Rangers Even if the Rangers win, bro, I don't know if that might be too much of an ass to beat Tampa.
The problem is that Tampa is going to be on an 8 and 9 day rest going into the Stanley Cup Finals.
Well, the Eastern Finals. The Eastern Finals.
I don't feel good about that.
No, the Eastern
8, 9 days.
That's a lot of rest.
8, 9 days. Right.
Yeah, but these guys have a lot of experience in recent years winning Stanley Cups. They know what they know what time of the year it is. And speaking of conference championships, the Celtics, our boy, our late brother, Matthew Sear, shout out to him, never forgotten. Our boy Matty Idris was one of the biggest Celtic fans you ever meet, just a Boston guy in general, but super knowledgeable. You know, like the kind of guy that you wanted to break his balls, but the kind of guy that you wanted to keep talking sports with at the same time. Yeah. But yeah, his Celtics, one step closer to the finals. As I mentioned earlier, Golden State has already punched their ticket. They defeated Dallas. How do you guys feel about both of these teams? Do you think either one of these guys, the Celtics or the Heat, pose any kind of real threat to the Warriors, the way the Warriors have just kind of crushed through the playoffs?
The Heat, no.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Idris. Already.
I agree also. I do as well. I think the Celtics pose a better threat.
I think they pose a better defensive threat. Yeah. I think dude, they can hit shots just like Golden State can.
And hit me with one time. What does defense win?
Championships.
That's why Tom Brady got his ass benched, motherfucker. All right, anyway, continue.
I just think Boston has a better defense than Miami.
56, bro.
And they've proved it throughout the whole playoff series. Even with Milwaukee. I just think they have a better shot. I think that series is going to go 7.
Brett, you make a really good point. You make a really good point because I don't think it'll go 7. I think the Celtics shouldn't go that route. They lose a valiant 6 games, but I don't want to put them in the finals yet because the Celtics have had issues winning at home and closeout games. They've proven their worth on the road, but they've been a little funny in Boston in closeout games. Don't want to count out Miami yet, but I do think Boston is going to win this series in 6, like I called it. Go figure.
Yeah, I think Miami. I still think Miami is a little too banged up. Butler's not doing what he's supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you got Tatum, the uprising superstar, Jaylen Brown, posterizing dunks. You know what I mean? Like, did you guys watch that dunk? God, that shit was nasty.
That thing was vicious.
You know what I feel good about? Like the Celtics are in our division, as you know. And Knicks are a young team. And if Boston, just the fact that Boston probably ends up in the finals. No, I don't think they win the championship. Still a great year. It sets a great challenge for the Knicks now, as well as the Brooklyn Nets. But fuck the Brooklyn Nets and fuck the Philadelphia 76ers. But the point I'm making is, excuse me?
So why are we talking about those clowns? I don't want to hear about them.
Well, I'm trying to make a point. If you didn't interrupt me, maybe you would find out what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say is that the Atlantic Division is going to be highly competitive because Philadelphia has sported great records the last couple of years. The Brooklyn Nets going into this year were everybody's favorite from a talent standpoint. And the New York Knicks, reason I bring them up is because they have played Boston very well the last couple of years. Off year with a lot of injuries. Point to be made is that Atlantic Division is going to be very competitive and kind of bring back memories of probably the 80s when everybody was really going in the right direction in that division.
80s and early 90s.
I like it. But no, I don't think the Celtics have the firepower to beat Golden State. Quite frankly, the only team that I think could have is not in the playoffs, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks. They didn't make it. Boston beat them. Boston earned it, but no, I don't think Boston has what it takes to knock out Golden State. But I do think they'll give them a better series than Miami will. And speaking of Golden State, I'm sorry, but go ahead.
Yeah, and I think we spoke about this before. This is why I said a 90s team would dominate today, because look at how Boston plays defense.
Yes,
they lock you down. They play 90s defense, physical. They're in your face.
Yeah,
they will lock. A good 90s team will beat a good team today because they play.
Which
defense.
is why I always kid around with people and say that our New York Knicks played in the wrong era.
Yeah. Oh, we dominate right now.
I mean, even the bad boy Pistons. You put the bad boy Pistons in today's times, they'd do better than they did in the 80s/90s.
It'd be hard to beat.
And this is leading up to.
They'd be hard to beat. They'd be hard to beat, but it's different rules now. Different rules, different games.
Brett, save it, because you might need some of those points in start bench cut, which is not too far away. Before we get there, something that's very important and dear to my heart, as well as both of the gentlemen that I'm speaking to here. Steve Kerr really put it in perspective. And I misspelled that. And I'm a stickler for this. So let me Steve Kerr, I wouldn't call it a meltdown, but I'd call it very emotional. He basically spoke for a lot of people who don't have voices, which I'm talking about a lot of children who lost their lives senselessly in Texas. In the year 2022, it's disgusting. I did a show talking about a white supremacist gunning down elderly black people who have seen it all, from the civil rights movement to serving our country, to get gunned down in your local grocery store. And now, yet another school shooting. You're a father, Brett. Your daughter is my goddaughter. Idris, you're a father. I'm a godfather to many. What needs to be done to give our kids a better chance at just getting home from fucking school, man? What needs to be done?
There's an easy way to resolve that. We're going to homeschool our kids next year.
It's coming down to that.
I can't blame you, bro.
We're going to be homeschooling Maddie next year. But yeah, no,
I can't blame you, bro.
You know, I mean, schools would rather spend, $40 million on a new football stadium than $80,000 on a security system.
And the truth of the matter is, it's bigger than the schools, because teachers make shit. They do it for the love. A lot of coaches in that level do it for the love as well. It is a little disturbing when, even though this is a sports podcast, when you see that high school coaches make more money than school teachers when it's a smaller part of the school. And I get it. Sports are big. I get it. But one of my things that I have to speak on is I do believe that when it comes to the Senators and the way Steve Kerr put it in perspective, 90% of us, no matter ethnic background, sexual preference, wherever you're from, who you vote for, 90% of us all agree that there needs to be more stringent gun laws in terms of who can get their hands on what. And I'm sorry, dude. I have nothing against gun collectors. And my stepdad's a gun collector. My stepdad was also on the NYPD for 20 years and never used his fucking gun. Never had to. Used his hands a few times. The point I'm making is the NRA is so powerful that they have literally sacrificed the safety of our children for the bigger gain and getting their pockets coated. And they have been exploiting this whole right to bear arms thing that was written way back when we were fighting with Britain, just to put it in perspective, how they have manipulated this rule. They talk about freedom, but the same people talking about freedom are over here trying to tell a woman what to do with their bodies. It is so jacked up on so many levels, bro. So many levels, but I will not name the killer. He doesn't deserve my respect in any way, shape, or form, nor my acknowledgement to him. but I have to acknowledge these grieving families. And, you know, Coach Steve Kerr said it best. We can't be numb to this, and we can't be desensitized to this. You know, we can't find that shit that happened with Rittenhouse normal. The shit that happened with Arbery normal. The shit that happened with Floyd normal. This isn't, it intertwines into a lot of things. Children's safety, still people of color, not knowing if they can go to the fucking grocery store or if they're going to be treated with the same respect by people of lawful authority. And I always say this, I'm from a police family, and I'm very proud of the kind of police officers my dad and my stepdad, for that matter, were two men that helped raise me. But when you see what happened in Kenosha and some of these other places, that is not the standard of what those guys, and not just guys, but women too, that I grew up around, that were pretty phenomenal people. Because, you know, there's always, you know, I think it's important. Community policing is a big one. I think that's very important. But getting back to the subject at hand with the schools, I truly believe that our assets need to be put in a better place, because while I do have empathy for the people of the Ukraine, and not that I don't care about other people around the world, the reality is that charity starts at home. And can we ensure the safety of our children before we start worrying about all these other things? How much money did we fucking spend building the terrain in Afghanistan back in the 80s so that way we could fuck the Russians sideways? The point to be made, buddy, is that we're not always the good guys. I don't want to speak on this anymore because I'm going to get mad. But
you're already mad. Keep going, man.
I am, dude.
You're already mad.
I am. Dude, it hurts, bro. It hurts.
Say what you got to say.
Quite frankly, bro, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to think that my godson or my niece, in addition to safety at their school, they also happen to, you know, be a little dark. So it's like 2 strikes already. They're great kids. I worry about your daughter. Are they doing enough for her? You know, bro, it's a lot, man. And
no,
I admire what Steve Kerr.
The schools are not doing it.
Steve Kerr did.
Period.
I admire what Steve Kerr did. And the way they stretch out teachers too, that's another problem. Because they're paying them shit and they're putting more and more and more on their shoulders. It is a broken system, bro. And homeschooling, to your point, I can't say that it's a bad idea. Quite frankly, I like it a lot. But rest in peace to all those young souls, man. It hurts. It hurts, bro. It hurts.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to end this on a better note. So we're gonna speak on some NBA dynasties. Lastly, you know, Kerr was a member of this 90s Bulls team we're gonna speak on. Big shout out to Steve Kerr, because I think it's very important to have representation from the sports world when it comes to these kind of issues in our society, because, you know, the bottom line is it has to stop. Start bench cut, fellas. 80s Lakers, 90s Bulls, 2000s Lakers. For those who aren't aware of how we roll with start bench cut, my friends get a minute and a half to express their feelings on why. They're going to hit me with their arguments. I'm going to have the final word on who I believe made more sense. And this is a topic that, you know, for the best product, we want to get me in the judge's seat and have these 2 guys duke it out, or 2 of my other, you know, guests duke it out. Wags and I talked about this on a previous show. Brett and I as well talked about this on a previous show. But this is the matchup we were waiting for. That's why the topic hasn't changed yet. Trying to see if I got a quarter in the room, but that might take a little too long.
No, we'll let Idris go.
Okay.
We don't need a coin flip for that.
I'll go first.
Idris, take it away, baby.
Here we go. Start bench cut. It's a tough one. I'm gonna cut the 2000 Lakers.
Okay.
I'm gonna bench the 80s Lakers. I'm going to start the 90s Bulls. I'm going to tell you why. With the 2000 Lakers, great squad. Shaq, Kobe, great squad.
Indeed.
I think with Shaq, He can come out and play you out, and he was just a dominant force on the inside.
Yeah, he really was. Yes, indeed. Great point, Idris. Great point.
Yeah, I think he would be a liability with the Bulls because Cartwright wasn't the greatest of center, but Cartwright can shoot the 20-footer, 25-footer. So, and back then you had to play man-to-man. He didn't have a zone. So Shaq would have to go out to him. And then you have Jordan, Pippen, and the rest of the squad. They went deep. They went 8 or 9 deep. Paxson, I think Kerr was on the team.
Kerr came over in 90. I'm gonna say in 95.
No, it was
okay.
5.
Okay.
It was 5.
Okay. And I just think they would be able to stretch you out. 80s Lakers, that was showtime. Let's go. That was a show. They was showtime. But we saw the Boston Celtics, not a real athletic team, and they handed it to the Lakers a lot of times in the 80s. They gave it to the Lakers, and they played fundamental basketball. They stretched them out to the 3-point line. Bird, he had McHale. Dennis Johnson penetrate. So I think that's why I put them second. I benched them. That 90s Bulls team, they were defensive. They were offensive. They can play inside, outside. They wore you down. They frustrated you. And Jordan was he was a killer, man. He made that team better. You think about the squad he had. I mean, they say, well, Jordan didn't do anything until Pippen got there. Jordan molded Pippen. He molded him into what he was.
That's a fair point.
Molded him.
10 seconds, Idris.
And I just think they were just deep. They were just all around. So I'm starting with them.
You made some great points. Bretsky. I'm giving you about 2.5 minutes. I added about a minute on because Idris is making some good points. I wanted to let him keep rolling, so I'm giving you the same.
Keep rolling.
You get 2.5 minutes, buddy. Start now.
Idris,
let's go.
If this conversation would have happened less than a week ago with you and I, it would have been a tie because I literally picked the same freaking shit you picked. So with that being said, I cannot pick the same shit you're picking this time. I will.
Like you're reneging.
I'm not. I can't pick the same freaking shit that he picked.
No, you could. I think you're afraid that he might not be able to make better points than he made.
Well, right. The biggest point that I can make is, it's pretty much the same lineup that Idris had. 2000 Lakers I cut, 80s Lakers I bench, 90s Bulls team I start. The reason
you start the Bulls. Let's go.
Because they were undefeated in the finals. 6 finals appearances, undefeated. That's honest to God, my biggest reason. Before Pippen came along, Jordan was losing the playoffs. He lost to Bird, he lost to Magic, he lost to the bad boys. He needed Pippen, man. I mean, no matter what this guy did, against the Celtics and the Lakers, they would still beat him. So they had to mold a team around him, starting with Pippen. And Jordan, Idris made the point. Jordan molded him, and he did. But the fact of them being undefeated in the finals is my biggest argument, really. I mean, because the Lakers. I mean, how many times did the Lakers lose in the finals? How many times did Boston lose in the finals?
So you're starting the 90s Bulls.
Correct.
You're cutting the 2000 Lakers, and your bench is the 80s Lakers.
Correct.
Any other points you want to make before your time is up? No rush. I just want to hear what you got to say.
No.
All right. All right. This is the deal. Thank God we got some more time. You guys are grabbing a tie, and I'll tell you why. I started the 80s Lakers as anyone who watched my previous show, and I'm going to explain why. If I picked the Bulls, Idris would have won. But because I didn't pick the Bulls, I'm going to listen to Idris. I'm going to respect what he says, but I'm like, nah, dog. Let me tell you what I think. The reason why I'm taking the 80s Lakers over the 90s Bulls, and yes, you made a good point about the undefeated stuff. And Idris, you made a great point about how they stretch out defenses. That is all valid. I wholeheartedly believe that when the Bulls caught the Lakers in 91, that was a fraction of what the Lakers were. No more Jabbar, rookie Vlade Divac, and James Worthy happened to be injured in that series. And it's no indictment on the Bulls. You play who you play, and they whipped their ass, and the Bulls deserve the credit. But I do believe, and this is to Brett's point about the whole undefeated stuff, I do believe in the 80s. I'm talking late 80s, not mid 80s. I do believe that the Bulls' ascension had to wait because of the fact that quite frankly, age and battle scars took a bit of a toll on the bad boy Pistons, who did beat them 2 out of 3. Those bad boy Pistons also were able to split in the finals with the Lakers. The Lakers won 2 out of 3 against Boston. Boston won 3 in that decade. Lakers won 5. No knock on the Bulls. Phenomenal team, and they got benched. The reason why I start the Lakers is because 2 reasons. I do believe that they played better caliber teams in those finals. And the other reason being that I don't think the Bulls dynasty could have started in 88. It didn't. It was the same team, more or less. They just couldn't get over the hump with Detroit. And I do believe in that regard. I'm thinking about a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Hypothetically, if the Bulls would have made it in 88 or 87, relatively the same team. No, I don't think the Bulls beat the Lakers then. I think the Bulls beat them when they did, when the Lakers got old. 3 of the most influential basketball players of that decade were all out of the league when the Bulls' ascension happened. That's why I give you fellas a tie. But having said that, and then the 2000 Lakers, not going to dismiss them, but essentially they weren't together long enough because Kobe and Shaq, Kobe and Gasol, it's almost like you could put the 2000 Lakers into 2 different categories of 2 different Lakers teams. I give you guys a tie. I do. If Brett would have took the Lakers, I don't know. If Brett didn't let you go first, he might have had a shot. He let you go first with all this confidence. And
no
he
need.
Didn't say anything.
Listen, we still got 8 minutes. We still got 8 minutes. Do a tiebreaker.
I started to pick the Lakers, but I forgot about Kareem.
All right. You want to do a tiebreaker?
We got 8 minutes. Let's do a tiebreaker.
All right, check it out. Let's do a tiebreaker. We're going to go. All right, we're going to go teams that didn't win championships, but in that same era relatively that probably could have and should have. I'm going to go the New York Knicks of the 90s. I'm going to go the Utah Jazz of the 90s. And I'm going to go the Orlando Magic of the 90s. Start, bench, cut. Brett, you going first this time, bro.
I'm going to go. Ooh.
Now, 45 seconds.
You
1 minute.
Said
1 minute. So.
You said Knicks, Utah, and who else?
Magic.
Damn. All right. I'm going to cut the Knicks. Yeah, I said it. I'm going to cut the Knicks.
Like winning.
I'm going to bench the Magic, and I'm going to start the Jazz.
Why? 30 seconds.
Well, number one, I mean, you had a young Shaq for the Magic, very young Shaq, very young Penny. Shaq didn't reach his prime, very talented guy. The Knicks, I mean, yes, you had Ewing, you had Starks. Oakley came from Chicago. That beefed up their defense a little more. But the Jazz, Stockton, Malone, 2 first ballot Hall of Famers, both guys on the 92 Dream Team that did not win a championship. It's hard not to put them at number 1. because you have the mailman, you have John Stockton, #1 in assists of all time. Like it's kind of hard not to put those two guys as #1, not winning a championship.
Idris, you're up.
Start the Knicks, bench the Jazz, cut the Magic. Tell you why I'm starting the Knicks. They were offensively strong. They were defensively strong. They got inside your head, and the only reason they didn't get to where they had to go was because of Jordan. That same Bulls team ran Utah. Ran them. No problem. The Magic were young. They were too young. They hadn't been together that long. They were just too young. They didn't have that instinct yet. And I don't think they had enough cohesiveness to win a championship. But the Knicks, they were just they were a layup by freaking Ewing from getting to the championship. That team could stop anybody. They just couldn't stop Jordan. They played the Jazz. They played the Bulls better than the Jazz played the Bulls. The
Bingo.
Jazz didn't have a chance with them.
Bingo. Bingo. All right. My final thought. I
already know your I already know your final thought. Just give him the fucking victory.
All right, well, shut your mouth and let me talk. I'm benching the Orlando Magic, and you made a good point about they were young. Excuse me, I'm cutting the Orlando Magic. You made a good point that they were young. The reason I'm cutting them is because it was short-lived. The Knicks in the 90s went to 2 NBA Finals, and the reason why I cannot even fathom starting the Magic over the Knicks is because they played the same team, and Houston swept the Magic. The year before, the Knicks took them 7. When I think about the Jazz and I think about the Knicks, it's the same thing. The Jazz hung around the Western Conference long enough to finally go to the finals. They couldn't beat Hakeem. They couldn't beat Magic. They couldn't beat Kemp and Payton. They waited for that, all those teams to get broken up until they can finally reach the finals. Reason I'm starting the Knicks, similar to Idris's points. Yeah, Brett, you made a nice point. Stockton, Malone, Hall of Famers, Dream Team 92, assist leader, only because Magic retired. No knock on John Starks. Prior to Tim Duncan, Karl Malone was the best power forward. That no longer is the case. Karl Malone's still a phenomenal career. Reason I picked the Knicks, Pat Riley essentially tried to turn that team into the New York City version of the Bad Boys. They didn't quite have the same kind of point guard play that you had with Isaiah Thomas, but the Pistons didn't quite have that kind of athletic center finesse play like a Patrick Ewing. Essentially very similar to Chuck Daly, what he built there. Riley tried to do that. He went from showtime to grind time. It was a different kind of feel. Speaking from, being a native of New York City during those times, very fond, and it hurts that they did not win that championship against Houston. A very special team nonetheless. Anthony Mason, who you two managed to not mention, truly a massive heartbeat of those Knicks teams. Idris, you get the dub.
The original point forward.
Yes, sir.
Anthony Mason, the original point forward.
Him and Scottie Pippen were the first two to really do it like that.
He was the Draymond Green of the 90s.
Anthony Mason was a bad man. Guys, I appreciate the points. I think both of you really, really made some solid points. Like I said, if either one of you would have picked the Lakers, either one of you would have won. I do think Idris made a little more sound points in the one-on-one, but I also understand that when you go first, and if you're agreeing, sometimes it's hard to follow that up. Brett, you shouldn't have let him go first, and you shouldn't have asked for a winner because you had a tie, but now you have an L. Idris is on a bit of a heater. He has defeated you in consecutive.
To the crowd.
Yeah. He has defeated you in consecutive start bench cuts. Had a great time, gentlemen. We feel free to keep talking with me for a few minutes, but we are out. Anything you guys want to say on the way out?
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
It's always great.
You're just starting to get that rhythm. All right, fellas.